Hey everyone, Clay here. Had a lot of people asking us if BATTASS was going to be covering The Batman, and the answer is yes, we are, but we're going to be doing it over on Patreon. So if you want to follow our coverage, head over to patreon.com/thepenskyfile and join us over there. But we didn't want to leave you high and dry, so here's a short preview of what you can expect from Sean and myself in our coverage of The Batman. Enjoy. This might sound strange.
Yep.
I think his Bruce Wayne is the closest they've come to the Michael Keaton Bruce Wayne. Because I think they occupy very similar spaces.
Yeah.
Because one of the things I always loved about the Michael Keaton Bruce Wayne is that people don't really know what he looks like. Mm-hmm. He's more of kind of like a Howard Hughes, not quite Howard Hughes, but he's rich enough and removed enough that, you know, when Alexander Knox goes to the party, he doesn't even recognize he's talking to Bruce Wayne.
Right.
Like, and he's a newspaper guy.
Yeah.
He should know who Bruce Wayne is.
Yeah.
And, you know, Bruce in those movies, he's very quiet and very brooding and very much like sitting with the memory and the trauma of what's happened to him.
Yeah.
He's definitely more social than Pattinson's is.
Yeah.
But I saw a lot of, you know, the scenes where it's just Michael Keaton sitting quietly, and, you know, you can kind of see the sadness baked into his Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
He's bringing flowers to the place where his parents were killed, and he's just got a lot of quiet sadness.
Yeah.
I thought that came through with Pattinson amazingly.
Yeah.
And I think he's great in this movie in a way, in that sort of way.
Yeah.
In a quiet way, which is different from, I think, almost everybody else who's played Batman, because he does more saying almost nothing than pretty much anybody else does. My favorite scene in the movie is at the end when Batman confronts the Riddler at Arkham Asylum, and the Riddler starts talking about it, making it seem like he knows that Batman is Bruce Wayne.
Right. Yeah.
And all Batman does, all Pattinson does, he gets super, super still.
Yeah.
He doesn't say a word, and you can just feel every bit of tension. And he's like darting his eyes over to the camera, trying to think about, like, do I need to smash this camera? Like, and then when Riddler kind of like veers off of that, you can kind of see him go, like, you can see the relief that he's not gonna give away that he's Batman.
It's insane that Riddler didn't put it together, because he had it all.
But that's assuming that he doesn't know.
Yeah.
Like, I think you can read that scene as also him, because he's talking about how they're kind of like born of the same blah 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 blah.
Yep.
I think you can read that scene also as him fucking with Batman, ultimately choosing not to reveal it. Like, they know.
Yeah.
The two of them know,
Right.
but Riddler's not going to play the card.
If that's the way it is, that's true. I would love to have him wink at the very end or something. That would have been a bit more for me, because I felt like it made Riddler's character, like, you came so far in committing these crimes and eluded the cops, and you're such a smart guy and capable of all these crazy things, and you have this, like, you know, these crazy pictures set up in your apartment of putting things together, and, you know, strings tied from this photo and that, and you've got Bruce Wayne, Batman, Bruce Wayne, blah, blah, blah. It's like all there. Like, how the fuck did you not put it together, idiot?
Yeah.
I would have liked to, if you're right and he purposefully did not tell him, and maybe when I rewatch it, that's what I'll get out of it. That's better to me than what they did.
Yeah. I think that one of the other things I think is really great about it is how legitimately ambiguous things are, especially surrounding the Riddler, because I don't necessarily need a wink for that to play for me. And all of the other things that they lay out with the Riddler offer 5 or 6 different answers as to who this guy could be. They never tell you exactly who he is.
Yeah.
He's got 2 IDs, so who's to say if any of those are real? They even, one of my favorite little Easter eggs is they kind of imply that he might be the son of Edward Elliot, who is, he's the reporter that gets killed by Falcone. And in the comics, the character of Hush is named Tommy Elliot. And as soon as they talk about Edward Elliot, they flash the word "hush" in big letters on the screen as part of like whatever the news report is. And his Riddler looks more like the character of Hush than he does the Riddler.
Right. Yeah.
And so I immediately thought like, oh shit, are they actually gonna? Is this gonna be more? Yeah. Is that what they're doing here? They never say that's what they're doing, but they never say that that's not what they're doing.
Yeah.
He's also an orphan, but they never say why he's an orphan, how long he's been there. So I really loved how ambiguous they were with the Riddler and his motivations and stuff.
Yeah, you know, I feel like this is my third or fourth favorite Batman movie.
Yeah.
I think 89 's still number one. Heath Ledger's number two. Mask of the Phantasm might be number three for me, and then this is number four.
Yeah.
I think the first two acts, the first hour and a half is a solid A.
Yeah.
For me, it's the ending. There's like three different endings, and none of them really feel satisfying to me. When they catch the Riddler, who sort of lets himself get caught, it's like, okay, the movie could end right there. There's no reason for it to keep going. And then it concocts a new reason. Oh, this his Twitter fame or his social media fame. He's got all these like incels or whatever who are following him. Now you have to fight a bunch like a Riddler army basically. But I feel like you already got the Riddler though. Like the stakes aren't the same for me.
Yeah.
I know they set up the Riddler army slowly, but I just didn't feel. I felt like it would have been better if Riddler was still missing, rather than him just getting caught like that.
Yeah. Well, it's that's one of the reasons why I feel like it feels like a studio note that they needed to go bigger for the ending, because I think you can still do that same ending and still have Batman come to the same conclusion, but it just ends with him capturing the Riddler, because the Riddler is saying all of that stuff directly to Batman, where he's like, I'm doing this because of you. Like we're one and the same, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Batman can a bunch of people have been killed. Like the Riddler has gone on a run of mayhem through the city. Yeah. Is that really not enough for Batman to go like, maybe I should do these things differently? You know what I mean? Like I would almost rather, instead of going into that big set piece at the end, I would almost rather that scene in Arkham Asylum be like the big ending, where it's like you really are kind of ending on this tense moment of, is he going to give him up? Is he not going to give him up?
Yeah. And
then your kind of denouement is Bruce Wayne changing, because I do think that's one thing that they didn't do. I'm hoping they kind of get into that in the next one. Right. But you've got this change for Batman by the end, and through the whole movie, Bruce Wayne is not a character, and I don't mean that in a bad way. He's not a character because Bruce Wayne is Batman. He's not Bruce Wayne. Like he is pushing all the Bruce Wayne stuff to the side. He's pushing Alfred to the side.
Right.
He's living totally engrossed by the vengeance element.
Right.
And so, to the point that he's neglecting the company and all that kind of stuff. And so I would have liked to have had that change in character reflected on the Bruce Wayne side as much as it was on the Batman side.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Maybe we'll get into that.
What you're describing, I like. It wasn't clear to me that Gotham had seawalls, by the way.
Yeah, that was not set up very well at all.
And so the city's flooding, but this civic center is the highest point where the water won't go, and Riddler's trying to get everyone there. Is that what happened?
Yeah, he's flooding the city to cause chaos and then to drive people towards the central point so they can kill as many people as possible.
That could have been set up better.
Yeah, big time.
And I agree. I think the
because not to cut you off, but it's one of those things where the whole movie is solving these puzzles, right? And all of the puzzles that Riddler lays out are all interconnected.
Yeah.
And I would like to go see it again. I might try to go see it on Monday. I would like to see whether or not you could get to the conclusion of his plan based on the other stuff that he's done, because that's what he says to Batman, where he's like, what do you mean you didn't figure it out? I gave you all the clues to tell you what I'm going to do.
Right.
I was like, I don't think anybody was going to figure this out. This is quite a leap. I don't know how he was going to, because it didn't feel like it was laid out in a way that made sense that was the end game.
Like you didn't need the seawall shit. You didn't need the explosions. The whole thing of like getting everyone to gather in one area. It's like you could have still had your Riddler army doing chaos in a specific location and still had all that stuff. You didn't need to go out of your way to do this like crazy CGI flood scene.
Right.
And if you're going to do that, you need to show early in the movie that there's these seawalls holding stuff back. You know, something has to happen near them to show like, oh, good thing these walls are here. I don't want them to break. And then you need to show the Civic Center kind of higher than everything else because like it's a geographical problem. Like you're gonna, the pieces of the puzzle were not clear to me when they revealed it. I think they thought we were supposed to be like, oh wow, and mostly I was like, what?
Right.
Okay, I'm having fun still, but I'm very confused by this.
Yeah.
So I think they whiffed a bit. Your comment about studio notes at the third act, that actually works. And I like your idea of the scene where he and Bruce are talking and he's going to reveal it, or will he or won't he reveal it, is great. But I'd have that happen after the Riddler army thing. I've just moved some stuff around.
Yeah, sure.
I think it would have been more solid. Like, I'm going to be real picky on it. Like, I think the first 2/3 of the movie are an A, and then for me, the ending is like, is the movie over now? Oh, there's a little bit more. Oh, there's a movie. Okay, there's a little bit more.
Yeah.
And then one of the Riddler guys that Batman captures happens to have like all the information he needs the last minute, and
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one guy he throttles. I thought it was actually the Riddler who would escape. I'm like, oh, good. So he is out, but it wasn't. It was just some guy who had this information.
So there you go. There's a preview of the Batman. Come join us on patreon.com/The File if you want to hear the rest of our thoughts, including talk about all the characters and a fun theory on how maybe we could end up getting Jason Todd the Red Hood in the sequel. So thank you guys. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next time. Patreon.com/The File.